No, this is on you.
Please, just take him.
Not after what you did it. You can't keep the baby.
No, you can't take my baby from me.
You were pregnant and didn't tell me. Korean Mafia boss gets a call 8 months after divorce. Part 1. Welcome back to Air Nero Romance. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new story. The call. The rain slammed against the glass windows of the penthouse like tiny bullets. Seoul at night glittered beneath the storm, neon lights, crowded streets, and endless movement. But on the top floor of the towering building, everything felt silent. Kang Min-jae stood alone, staring down at the city he controlled. At 34, he was one of the most feared men in South Korea's underground world. People whispered his name in dark alleys and luxury offices alike. Some called him a businessman. Others called him a criminal mastermind. But those who truly knew the truth used only one word: boss. Min-jae took a slow sip of whiskey, the amber liquid burning slightly as it slid down his throat. His sharp eyes scanned the rain-soaked skyline, but his thoughts were far away. They always were these days. 8 months ago, his life had been different. 8 months ago, he had still been married. The soft buzzing of a phone interrupted the silence. Min-jae frowned. His private number rarely rang. Only a few trusted people had access to it. He glanced down at the screen. Unknown number. Normally, he would ignore it, but something about it made his chest tighten. The phone rang again. And again. Finally, with visible annoyance, he answered. His voice was cold. "Who is this?" For a moment, there was only static. Then a nervous female voice spoke. "Mr. Kang?" "Yes." "This is Hanul Medical Center." Min-jae's expression hardened. "Why are you calling me?" There was a pause on the other end. "It's about your ex-wife." The glass in his hand stopped halfway to his lips. The words echoed inside his mind. Your ex-wife, Yoon Era. He hadn't heard her name spoken out loud in months. His voice lowered dangerously. "What about her?" Another pause. Then the nurse spoke again, quickly this time. "She's in labor." Min-jae blinked slowly. "In labor?" "Yes." "That's impossible." The nurse hesitated before speaking again. "Mr. Kang, she's 8 months pregnant." For a moment, the entire world seemed to freeze. The rain, the city lights, even the air in the room. 8 months. His mind immediately went back. 8 months ago, the day of their divorce. The memory hit him like a punch. Era had stood across from him in the lawyer's office, her hands trembling as she held the pen. She looked so small that day, so fragile. The woman he had once sworn to protect looked like a stranger. "Min-jae," she had whispered. "Yes." "Are you sure this is the only way?" He had kept his face emotionless. "It's safer for you." Her eyes filled with tears. "I never asked for safety." He didn't answer, because the truth was cruel. His world was full of violence. Rivals, police investigations, bloodshed. Every day someone tried to destroy him, and anyone close to him could become a target, including her. So he made the decision for both of them. "Sign the papers, Era." Her hand shook as she signed her name. Yoon Era. The moment the pen left the paper, their marriage ended. But that night, she had come back. Min-jae closed his eyes as the memory burned his chest. The last night, the last time he held her, the last time they slept in the same bed. And now, she was pregnant? His voice returned to the phone, dangerously quiet. "Say that again." The nurse swallowed nervously. "Your ex-wife is giving birth." Min-jae's fingers tightened around the phone. "Why are you calling me?" "She asked for you." His heartbeat quickened. "She what?" "Before the contractions got worse, she told us, if anything happens, call Kang Min-jae." The line went silent. Min-jae stood frozen. Era had asked for him. After 8 months. After everything. And she had carried his child all this time. Alone. Something inside his chest twisted painfully. Which room? Delivery room 3. The call ended. For several seconds, Min-jae didn't move. Then suddenly, the whiskey glass shattered against the wall. His right-hand man, Park Jun-suk, rushed into the room. "Boss!" Min Jae grabbed his coat. "Get the car." Jun-suk frowned. "What happened?" Min Jae stopped walking for a moment. His voice was quieter than usual. "My ex-wife." Jun-suk blinked in confusion. "The one you divorced?" "Yes." "What about her?" Min Jae looked up slowly. "She's giving birth." Jun-suk's eyes widened. "What?" "To my child." 15 minutes later, a black convoy of luxury cars tore through the rainy streets of Seoul. Traffic lights turned red, but the vehicles didn't stop. Inside the back seat, Min Jae stared silently ahead. His mind refused to slow down. 8 months. Why didn't she tell him? Did she hate him that much? Or was she protecting him? Or worse, was she protecting the child from him? The car suddenly stopped. "We're here," Jun-suk said. Min Jae stepped out into the rain, without an umbrella. The hospital doors slid open as he walked inside. Doctors and nurses immediately froze. They recognized him. Everyone did. The tall man in the black coat, the sharp, dangerous eyes, the terrifying aura. Whispers spread through the hallway. "That's Kong Min Jae. Why is he here?" A nurse rushed toward him nervously. "Mr. Kong?" "Yes." "She's on the 3rd floor." He didn't wait for the elevator. He ran up the stairs. 3 floors. 2 at a time. When he reached the maternity ward, he heard it. Era's voice. A weak cry of pain. His chest tightened instantly. He pushed open the delivery room door. And there she was. Sweat covered her forehead. Her hair clung messily to her face. But when her eyes met his, she froze. "Min Jae?" His voice came out rough. "You were pregnant." The entire room went silent. "And you didn't tell me?" Tears instantly filled her eyes. "I was going to," she whispered. "But I didn't want our child growing up in your world." Before he could answer, a contraction hit her. She cried out. The doctor shouted instructions. "Push." Min Jae stepped forward without thinking. Era grabbed his hand tightly, stronger than she ever had before. Minutes later, a baby's cry filled the room. Then suddenly, another. The doctor frowned. "Wait." Then a third cry echoed. The nurses gasped. Then a fourth. The doctor turned toward Min Jae in shock. "Mr. Kong." Min Jae stared at the newborns. "Yes." "You're the father of quadruplets." For tiny cries filled the room. For lives. For children. Min Jae slowly looked at Era. Tears were streaming down her face. And for the first time in years, the most feared Mafia boss in Seoul felt his own tears fall. Part 2, the Mafia boss who became a father. The cries of the newborn babies filled the delivery room. For small voices. For fragile lives. Kong Min Jae stood frozen beside the hospital bed, staring at the tiny infants wrapped in white blankets. The most feared Mafia boss in Seoul suddenly looked completely lost. A nurse gently placed the first baby in his arms. "Careful," she said softly. Min Jae hesitated. His hands that had signed ruthless business deals, commanded dangerous men, and fought brutal battles, suddenly felt too rough for something so small. But when the baby was placed against his chest, everything changed. The tiny girl opened her eyes for a moment and made a soft sound. Min Jae felt his heart tighten in a way he had never experienced before. "This one is a girl," the nurse said with a smile. Another nurse spoke from across the room. "And the second one, too." The doctor chuckled. "You're lucky, Mr. Kong. 2 girls and 2 boys. 2 girls. 2 boys." Min Jae looked at Era slowly. She looked exhausted but peaceful, lying back against the hospital pillow. "You carried 4 children alone," he said quietly. Her eyes filled with tears again. "I didn't want you to feel trapped." "Trapped?" he repeated. She nodded weakly. "You already gave up your life for the Mafia. I didn't want you to think you had to stay with me because of a baby." Min Jae shook his head slowly. "Era, you were my wife." "Ex-wife," she corrected gently. The word hurt more than he expected. He looked down at the baby girl sleeping against his chest. His voice became firm. That can change. Era looked surprised. Min-jae, before she could finish speaking, the delivery room door opened. Park Jun-suk walked in cautiously. The moment he saw the 4 babies, his eyes widened. Boss, are those? Min-jae nodded. All of them are mine. Jun-suk blinked several times. I thought the nurse was exaggerating. He looked at the babies again in disbelief. You have 4 children now. Min-jae looked down at them again, almost as if the reality still hadn't fully settled in. Yes. The nurse handed Era one of the babies. Era held the tiny boy carefully, her eyes soft with love. For a moment, the room felt peaceful, but Jun-suk's expression slowly turned serious. He stepped closer to Min-jae. Boss, we have a problem. Min-jae frowned slightly. What is it? You weren't careful coming here tonight. What do you mean? 3 rival groups have been watching our movements this week. Min-jae's eyes hardened immediately. And they might know you're here. Era looked at him nervously. What does that mean? Min-jae didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked at the babies again. His children, for innocent lives. Then he looked back at Jun-suk. Called the security team. Already did. How many men? 20 outside. Not enough. Jun-suk nodded. I'll bring 40 more. Era's voice trembled slightly. Min-jae, are we in danger? He turned to her. For a moment, the cold Mafia boss disappeared, replaced by the man she had once fallen in love with. No one will touch you, he said quietly, and no one will touch my children. Just then, the door opened again and another doctor entered. Mr. Kong, he said politely. Yes. We need to move the babies to the nursery for monitoring. Min-jae frowned. Is something wrong? No, but quadruplets are rare. We need to make sure they're all healthy. Era looked worried. Will they be okay? The doctor smiled reassuringly. They're strong. One by one, the nurses carefully carried the babies out of the room. Min-jae watched them leave with unexpected anxiety. Jun-suk noticed. Boss, you look nervous. Min-jae didn't deny it. They're small. Babies usually are. Too small. Jun-suk chuckled slightly. That's normal. Min-jae leaned against the wall, rubbing his forehead. I've faced armed gangs without fear. But holding my daughter felt more dangerous. Jun-suk laughed quietly. Congratulations, boss. For what? You're officially a father. Min-jae glanced toward Era again. She looked exhausted but happy. For a moment, the hospital room felt warm and calm. But outside, danger was already moving. Across the street from a hospital, inside a parked black sedan, a man lowered his binoculars. So it's true. Another man sitting beside him looked curious. What? Kong Min-jae is inside the hospital. Why? The man smirked. His ex-wife just gave birth. The second man raised an eyebrow. To his child, not 1. The first man grinned darkly. 4. The car fell silent. Then the second man laughed softly. Well, that's interesting. Very interesting. Because if Kong Min-jae has children, the first man finished the sentence. He finally has something to lose. Back inside the hospital, Min-jae sat beside Era's bed. The rain outside had finally stopped. Era watched him quietly. You're thinking too much, she said. I always do. About the babies? Yes. She smiled softly. You don't have to worry so much. Min-jae looked at her seriously. My enemies will use anything against me. Era's expression became more serious. You think someone might target them? I know they will. The room fell silent. Then Era whispered something that surprised him. Then leave the Mafia. Min-jae blinked. You know that's impossible. Why? Because I built everything I have in that world. Era looked at him sadly. But now you have something bigger than power. He followed her gaze toward the nursery window down the hall. 4 tiny babies sleeping peacefully. His children, for the first time in years. Kong Min-jae felt unsure about the life he had chosen. Meanwhile, in the nursery, One of the nurses smiled as she looked at the babies. "They're beautiful." Another nurse nodded. "Yes, especially the little girl with the tiny dimple." But just as they turned away, a shadow appeared outside the nursery door. Someone was watching, someone dangerous, and the peaceful night at the hospital was about to change. Thank you for watching. Red Heart. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video.